All right, this is my voting speech. These are my 5 audience members. Okay, good. Sure. Like right there.
Right there.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay. Hello, my name is Edward Adams. I'm going to be giving a speech on voting in America. On July 1st, 1971, the 26th Amendment was added to the United States Constitution, which changed the voting age from 21 to 18. A huge political problem at the time was a lot of Americans thought that people could fight in the war at 18, but they weren't allowed to vote. And they thought that this is an improper way to represent America. So when they changed the Constitution that year in 1972, the voter turnout for younger Americans aged 18 to 29 was about 55%. And we fast forward to 2012 and the 2016 presidential elections, we see that we're barely hitting 50%. And in this graph right here, we see that ages 18 to 24 American citizens, we see kind of like an abysmal 41% in the 2012 election. And this is a huge problem because young people make about 21% of the eligible voters in America. So, and why this all matters? Why does voting matter at all? Voting, for the first part, is habit forming. If you start to vote, you're more likely to vote in future elections. Whenever is the first time you do that, it's just going to continue to, you pretty much continue to do it the rest of your life. Young people are a major subset of the electorate, and their votes really matter. 18 to 29 aged American citizens make up 46 million of the eligible voters in the United States, whereas the elderly, 65 and up, make up only 39 million. But the elderly are the largest turnout. They turn out in a percent of 70%. You see how huge that is compared to ages 18 to 24, which is only 41%. This just makes the political public policy heavily unequal. And the youth just feel disenfranchised and they don't feel like it matters. I mean, a lot of different ages don't feel like their vote matters. So some alarming facts about voting. Compared to other nations, we are ranked 138 out of 172 nations on voter turnout. We have about 53.6% turnout of all eligible voters, whereas Belgium, Turkey, Sweden have really high, over 80% turnouts. And even in a country like Germany, who saw some modern reforms in the last decade, where they changed some of the voter regulations where you can vote online or vote on the weekend. In America, we still vote on Tuesday. And it's also very hard to register to vote. If you want to vote last minute, in some states, you don't even get that chance. You can't even go to the poll and sign up then and there, which just makes it even more disconnected, and people don't even do it at all. But there is some good news, and the fact is when people register to vote, they are very likely to turn out. And this just shows young adults age 18 to 24 of the eligible voters that when they register, they usually turn out. And it's pretty close to their register numbers. And when young people register to vote, they turn out 80% of the time. And that's huge, because it only took them to register. And it's pretty easy to register in the United States. If you go to the DMV to get a license or something updated, they usually just ask you then and there, do you want to register to vote? So it's not as complicated, and it's sometimes even convenient for a lot of Americans. But this leads me to one of just the biggest problem is that older Americans have all the focus in public policy. And this just creates a lot of unease and a lot of people just feeling disconnected to politics because it just it's not properly represented in the United States. So in conclusion, it doesn't really matter what age you are. Everyone should feel like they want to vote because democracy matters in America. And we talked about why voting matters. It's habit forming. You tend to just do it if you do it once, or you just continue to do it for the rest of your life. And you also tend to influence others around you if you make it important to your life. And something that was really important, the youth make up more than the elderly, but they're probably the least represented in the United States. So I leave you with this. Do you vote? If you don't, do you think you would vote? Your vote would matter if you did. And another question is, do you feel like you're being properly represented right now? And do you ever have anyone who makes political statements or says things about the United States and they don't vote at all? Do you feel like that's hypocritical in some ways? I feel like America would be better off if we all voted and we had a higher turnout, because it would start to become more equally distributed in who is represented. And if the political climate would change, we just might be more patriotic and prideful of the place we call home. Thank you. That's it. All right, that wasn't so bad.